Textbooks in neighboring and nuclear-armed rivals India and Pakistan teach wildly different versions of the same shared history and events. The governments of those two nations are not alone in editing schoolbooks and other materials to teach officially approved narratives, regardless of reality and facts. Few neighbors have a more toxic relationship than that of India and Pakistan. Within 3 decades after they emerged as independent countries, they fought 3 major wars. Atrocities abounded in those conflicts, in which millions perished and were displaced. Today, both continue to stare daggers at each other across thousands of miles of a fortified and heavily patrolled border. Especially since both possess atomic weapons, the next war between them could well witness the world's first mutual nuclear exchange. With things so tense, it is no surprise that the conflict has reached into classrooms and textbooks. The governments of both India and Pakistan ensure that schoolbooks are heavily edited to educate generations of citizens with a skewed, and at times even warped, version of events. Take the 1947 bloody partition of British India. It was a violent mess that witnessed mass riots in which hundreds of thousands were slain, millions injured, and tens of millions displaced. Each country's schoolbooks blame the other for the horrors. Or take the 1965 Indo-Pakistani War. Both Indian and Pakistani schoolbooks claim victory for their country. Then there is the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971, which saw the partitioning of Bangladesh from Pakistan. Pakistani textbooks accuse India of unjustified aggression. Indian textbooks claim, with some justification, to have acted only after Pakistan began to slaughter Bangladeshis and to help Bangladeshi freedom fighters. The Pilgrims crossed the Atlantic in the Mayflower and finally reached Massachusetts in December 1620. They landed at Plymouth Rock, and ever since it has been revered for its association with America's earliest history. But did the Pilgrims even make landfall there? We know of 2 first-hand accounts of the Pilgrims' arrival and the foundation of their colony. Neither account mentions what we know today as Plymouth Rock. It is thus quite possible that the account of the Pilgrims landing at the famous rock is just a myth. One of history's most insidious hoaxes began in 1903, when a conservative Russian newspaper published what it claimed were the minutes of a late 19th century secret meeting between Jewish leaders. In reality, the minutes, which came to be known as the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, were crude forgeries that had first made the rounds in Russian right-wing circles. Sergei Alexandrovich Nilis, a Russian Tsarist official, edited several versions of the protocols, each time with a different account of how he came by them. For years after their creation, the protocols languished in relative obscurity, confined to Russian right-wing circles. That changed with the Russian Revolution of 1917 and the Bolshevik seizure of power later that year. The false claims resonated, and soon, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion went from a Russian right-wing curiosity to a global phenomenon. In Britain, the Morning Post published them, with an introduction that warned readers of the Jewish plot. In America, Henry Ford paid to print and distribute 500,000 copies. When it comes to such claims that reinforce pre-existing prejudices and buttress long-standing beliefs, truth is immaterial. Today, the Protocols of the Elders of Zion are no longer acceptable fare in the Western mainstream. However, they continue to circulate within anti-Semitic circles, white nationalist groups, the alt-right, and the like. History is often written by the victors, but sometimes it is rewritten by those in power to serve their own ends. The truth can be elusive, and the narratives we are taught can be far from reality. Stay curious, question everything, and seek the truth.